Welcome back, Mr. Anderson here again, talking math, talking about solving quadratics, and now we are specifically at using the quadratic formula. So in the first place, let's write down the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then we take all of that over to a. All right, so that's our quadratic formula. And one thing good, we're familiar with finding the a, b, and c values. They just go right in a row with our terms in a trinomial, quadratic trinomial, and the terms should be lined up with the highest exponent to the left, and then the next highest exponent, which would be understood 1, and then we don't have any x there. It'd be like a x to the 0, which would be 1. So highest exponent to the left, then next highest and next highest. And so it's just right in a row here. We have a is equal to a positive 18. Make sure you take it with the signs in front of it. B is equal to 3. And C is equal to negative 10. Make sure you're taking that sign in front of it. Okay, just numbers, never any letters in your ABC values. And we are ready to plug it into this quadratic formula. So a very important next step for making less errors in using this rather longer formula. You see, all we got to do is we got to plug in these letters here of B, A, and C. Okay, so rewrite the formula, and I will rewrite it like this. Everywhere I say a letter, I'm actually going to put a set of parentheses. So I go through the quadratic formula again. I go negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and that is all over 2a. All right, so you see that I don't have any letters in this quadratic formula. I just put parentheses where the letters belong exactly. All right, now go back and fill in those parentheses with your A, B, and C value, right? You have those first two letters of B, all right, go in those first two sets of parentheses. So let's get those in. B is equal to 3, so we'll put the 3's in the first two sets of parentheses. And then I see I've got an A there in the denominator, and it's 4AC, so A's go there. A was what? 18, so I'll plug in 18 in these two sets of parentheses. And then finally, we have this C that we just use in one spot at the end of our radicand, and the C was a negative 10. And goes in that last set of parentheses. Okay, now this time around, what I'm going to do is I am going to plug this into a calculator. All right, I'm just going to plug the whole thing, the numbers, not the x equals, just the numbers into the calculator, and the calculator will spit out an answer for me. It will do the order of operations. Some key things to think about in the calculator. This minus right here, that's a minus. All right, and this right here, it says plus minus, that's a minus as well. All right, those are the only two minus signs that you have in this formula. Anything else, that lead negative there, that's a negative. Anything inside parentheses, those are all negatives. These would be the only two minus signs, and when we plug it into the calculator, we're not plugging in plus minus at the same time. We're doing those one at a time. All right, so really we're gonna plug this whole thing in, and I'll plug in just a plus in front of that square root. Okay, now let's go over to a calculator here. Okay, there we go. Calculator. Oh, bookmarks, that's okay. There we go. Let's go to a calculator. And this site has a calculator in their toolbar, so I'll use them. I want to start off with a fraction, and to get the fraction, shortcut is alpha, hit that green button, and then y equals. That's that top left white button there. And you see my first option is n over d, that's numerator over denominator, and it gives me a nice fill-in-the-box fraction there. Okay, and it's also going to give my answer in fraction form, so that's nice. Okay, and I just start plugging in. Remember that first number, that first negative is a negative, not a minus, so make sure you do the negative down there at the bottom next to the enter. It's in parentheses. So negative, and make sure that you have all of your parentheses in there. All right, so negative 3. And then we had plus or minus, but we're just going to do the plus first. We'll go back and do the minus later. The square root, it is, whoops, I actually hit the square. It is right with that x squared halfway down on the left side, and we see the square root is in blue, which means we need to hit the blue button first. So we'll hit second and then that x squared. So I go second and x squared, and that starts my square root for me. All right, and then I just keep following exactly what I wrote down on my paper. Right, I had a parenthesis, and then I had another 3, close parenthesis, and then a square. Make sure that square is on the outside of the parentheses. All right, back where that square root is. You just hit that square, and I have parentheses 3 squared. And then we have the minus 4ac. So this is a minus sign right above your plus sign, underneath your multiplication sign. There you hit a minus. And then we have 4. I'll just hit 4. And then I have 2 sets of parentheses. The first one has an 18 in it for our a value. And the second one has a negative 10 for our c value. All right, and that was a negative again. Remember, the only minus sign, especially since this only has a plus in front of the square root, the only minus sign in this entire thing is in that radicand right after the square and before the 4, right between those two. Okay, and in the denominator, go down to the denominator using your arrow keys. We got 2 and parentheses 18. That was our a value. All right, I got the entire thing all plugged in exactly like I wrote it on my paper. Okay, and I'm just going to let the calculator do my order of operations for me, and I hit enter, and I get 2/3. All right, and that's the correct first answer. All right, 2/3. I'm going to get my second answer right away here. And so a real key feature on a TI-84 is you hit the up button and you go to that big long thing that you just typed in. You don't have to keep typing it in, right? You just go up, you highlight it. When you go up, it automatically highlights it. Here it's highlighted in blue. And once it's highlighted in blue, hit enter, all right, and repaste it for you. And so now it's repasted. I can go back and edit this one. The only thing I want to edit is that I want to change that plus that is right in front of that square root. I want to change that to a minus sign. This is minus, not negative. All right, you won't get an error putting a negative. You'll just get a wrong answer. All right, so I'll put a minus sign, and the default is right where the cursor is. it will write over wherever you are. So my cursor is flashing right above that plus sign, right on top of that plus sign. And so whatever I type in is going to write right over it. It's going to replace that plus sign. And so I'll hit that minus sign. Okay? And that's the only thing I wanted to change into it, because the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root. All right, so this one, I have the minus part of it, and I hit enter, and here's my second answer, negative 5, 6. So those are my two answers. Let's go back and just plug those in. Okay, so I've got x equals 2/3 or negative 5, 6. And there we have it. We used the calculator to kind of make short work of that quadratic formula. Okay, let's move on to number 8, and we're going to do the same thing with the calculator here. I'll also show you a little bit about simplifying. It's all set up for us. When you start with a quadratic formula, everything again has to be on one side of the equation. The other side of the equation has to be 0, and that's good to go here. Our a, b, and c values. A equals 1. That's an understood 1 in front of that x squared. B equals negative 4. C equals a positive 20. All right, and I'll plug this all into my quadratic formula. So rewrite it. How'd I get over there? Okay, rewrite it. X equals negative b. I'm going to replace everything with parentheses. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and all over 2a. And then I'll go back in and I'll fill in my a, b, c values. So the b, that was negative 4. My a's, those were both 1. And my c was 20. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm going to plug all of this in. Okay, calculator, here we are. I go back up, and I just paste what I already did. But I have the wrong numbers in here, right? So I go back and edit it, and what's very useful is to get used to this insert and delete key, right? It's right. You got the second key, and then you got quit and mode, and you got insert and delete key. Get used to how that works, all right? Because by default, I am going to write right over that 3, and I need a negative 4, all right? And so I need an extra space in that parentheses, so I want to insert it. All right, rather than right over that parenthesis. So I go second, and then INS with that delete key. So second, and then hit the insert. Okay, and you can see it's flashing a little bit differently. I'll plug in a 4 there. So now it made an extra space to put that 4. Okay, and then I have to do the same thing where this other 3 is. I got negative, but then I need a space, so 4. Okay, and let's see, our a, what was our a value? The a was just 1, wasn't it? I think the a was 1. Okay, I can go back and double check. And our c value, whoops, where am I going here? Our c value was 20, and so here I have too many spaces, so I'm flashing above the last 0 there, or it's an 8, I guess, and wherever your cursor is, when you hit the delete key, that's what it's going to delete. And notice if I hit it again, all right, it'll delete that parenthesis there. Okay, let's double check, make sure I've got that entered correctly. Yeah, A was 1 and the C was -20. Okay. Whoop. There's our calculator. So I just hit enter and it says error. Yeah, I got everything entered correctly, but it says error. Well, that's because the discriminant in this, I'll go to our equation. The discriminant, which is the number underneath the radical, is a negative number, right? Which is going to bring us into the complex numbers, right? Not a real number. And that's what it said in our error also. There's not a real number. So I can just switch over to complex mode. You hit the mode button, which is right next to your second button. And you go halfway down, and it says real. That's real numbers. Well, I want complex, so I go 1 to the right where it says A plus BI. I'm flashing above that, and I hit enter. All right, now I'm in complex mode. All right, and I can get out of this. You could hit clear to get out of this. I always hit second, and then the mode again. So second and quit right next to it to get out and get back to my main screen. So remember last time, I haven't changed anything in this quadratic formula, but now when I hit enter, it gives me the complex answer, 2 minus 4i. Right, and I'm in complex mode here. I hit a copy and paste, and I want my plus to be in front of my square root. And I hit enter again, and I have 2 plus 4i. Those are my two answers. I will write those in. X equals 2 plus or minus 4i. All right, or you could write it x equals 2 plus 4i, or x equals 2 minus 4i. So that plus minus is shorthand for. Okay, those are two answers. All right, and that's handling it with the calculator. Okay, kind of using the calculator to make short work of that quadratic formula. A little bit longer to plug in, but I can just copy and use it over and over again. Okay, and that's about it there. I'm going to, in the next video, I'm going to move on to some practical application type problems. So I will see you in just a little bit.